All right, so, like, imagine this, right? You just spent, I don't know, years studying, like, really hard. You've got your master's degree, maybe even a PhD. You're ready for that dream job. But instead of, like, a fancy corner office, you end up waiting tables, like at a hot pot restaurant.
Yeah, it does kind of make you wonder what's going on.
Exactly. That's what we're looking at in this deep dive, right? So we've got this BBC article. It's called China's Young Workers Overqualified and in Low-Paying Jobs. And it's pretty interesting. It paints a pretty crazy picture. So we're going to try to like figure out why this is happening, what it means for these people, and what it might tell us about like China's economic future,
I think it's important to just start by acknowledging that this isn't just like a few random cases, right? This BBC article, it highlights that China's like pumping out tons of graduates every year, but like finding jobs, good jobs, it's just getting harder and harder. And it's a huge difference from what a lot of these graduates, thought would happen when they were studying so hard,
Yeah, and the article, it gives some pretty, like, jarring examples to kind of show what we're talking about. Like, I'm talking about a physics master's degree working as, like, a handyman, a cleaner with an environmental planning qualification, even, like, a philosophy grad who's delivering food. I mean, those are some pretty serious qualifications for those kinds of jobs.
Yeah, it is surprising. And, it kind of makes you ask, like, why are these people, highly educated people ending up in these jobs? Is it just because of money, or is there more to it? Are we seeing like people's values changing, like what they think success is?
Okay, so let's look at the economic side of this. The article, it kind of connects this trend to China's like recent economic slowdown, especially in areas like real estate and manufacturing. Those have been hit pretty bad.
Yeah, that's a huge factor. And to really see how big this is, we need to look at those youth unemployment numbers. At first, they were almost at 20%, which is like super high, but then they changed it, adjusted downward. But even after that, it was still 16.1% in November 2024. That's a lot of young people who are like struggling to find a job, And
it makes you wonder, right? Like, what does that even mean, officially adjusted downward? How do they even come up with these numbers, and why are people like skeptical of them?
That's a good question. And it kind of points to a bigger issue of like how transparent the data is, like how they come up with these numbers. It's not always clear. Yeah. And there's a lot of debate about whether these numbers really show like the truth of what's happening. Some people say that these official numbers, they might actually be lower than the real unemployment, especially for certain groups of people.
So like it's possible it's even tougher for young people to get jobs than the numbers show.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. And on top of that, the article talks about this professor from City University of Hong Kong, Professor Zhang Gun, and he says that a lot of companies, even like tech companies, are laying people off. So it's not just that there aren't new jobs, but the jobs that are there, they're disappearing. And that makes it even harder for people to get those few jobs that are left.
Yeah, not exactly the best time to be starting your career, huh?
Nope, definitely not. And it helps us understand why some of these grads are making choices that, like, might seem kind of strange at first. The article talks about this guy, Su Zhan, who got a master's in finance, but he's working as a waiter at a hot pot place.
Yeah, his story really, like, stuck with me. You'd think with a finance degree, he'd be going for, like, some high-powered banking job or something.
That's what his family thought, too. The article mentions that they weren't too happy about it, especially since he went to a really good school. They probably thought he'd be, working for the government or something like that.
So why did he choose this, then? Is he just waiting for something in finance to open up? Or, is he actually trying something totally different?
Right. That's the question. The article says that he wants to learn the restaurant business, like from the ground up. He wants to open his own place eventually. But is that really what he wants to do? Or is he just doing it because it's hard to find a good job? It's hard to say, but it definitely makes you think about what makes people choose certain careers, especially in this kind of situation.
And he's not the only one doing this, like making these different choices. The article also talks about Wu Dan. She graduated with a finance degree from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and now she's training to be a sports massage therapist.
Right. And what's interesting about her is that she actually did have a job in futures trading, but she wasn't happy. So she like completely changed what she was doing, even though her family didn't want her to.
That's pretty bold, especially with like how much emphasis there is on certain careers. It makes you think, maybe what people think of as a good job is changing.
Totally. Professor Zhang, the one we mentioned before, he talks about this in the article. He thinks that, like, people graduating now, they might need to change what they expect, with this new economy. Maybe those things that used to mean success, like a lot of money, moving up at a big company, having a fancy title, maybe those things aren't as, like, easy to get or as important anymore.
So maybe these young people are like making their own definition of success and finding happiness in different ways.
That's an interesting idea, isn't it? And it leads us to another interesting thing about all this, the whole, like, temporary job thing, especially in the entertainment industry. The article talks about people like graduates going to Hangdian. It's like China's Hollywood. They're going there to work as, like, extras in movies.
That's weird. I've never even heard of Hangdian. What's the deal with that place? Are they just trying to make some quick cash while they, figure things out, or what?
Well, first of all, Hangdian is this, like, giant studio place. They make tons of movies and TV shows there. And so actors and filmmakers go there to try to, get started. But it also attracts a lot of people who just want a temporary job, including, like, people who just graduated.
So it's kind of like a gig economy, but for, like, movies and stuff.
Exactly. And the article gives some examples. There's Wu Xinghai. He graduated with an engineering degree, and he's working as a bodyguard extra. He sees it as something temporary just to, make some money while he figures out what he wants to do.
And then there's this other guy, Lee, and he actually has a degree in film directing. But he's working as an extra to get some experience, on set while he looks for a real job in film. It seems hard to break into, even with a degree.
Yeah, it's super competitive. But the thing is, these graduates aren't just sticking to, like, those traditional career paths. They're trying different things, even if it means taking a temporary job or something unusual.
It seems like a pretty uncertain time for, like, young people trying to find a job in China. Where do they go from here? What does it mean for their future?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Are they just, like, adjusting to a weird economy? Or is this something bigger, a whole new way of thinking about work and success? Are these people just waiting for something better? Or are they making new paths that will, like, change China's whole economy?
It really makes you think, like, are we seeing a whole generation just, like, changing what it means to have a good career? I mean, are office jobs still, like, the goal, or are these grads making something totally new?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? And it's not just about what people want for themselves, it's about, like, what society expects too.
Yeah.
For a long time in China, it was all about, climbing the ladder at work, getting a safe, well-paying job. But, like, what happens when that doesn't work anymore? When those jobs are harder to get?
Yeah, we see that in the article, right? Like, remember Wu Dan, the finance grad who, like, switched to sports massage. She said a lot of her friends, the ones who did get those good jobs, the ones everyone wants, they're actually not happy. They're worried about losing their jobs, and they don't even like what they're doing. It's like they're kind of disappointed, even though they have what everyone thinks is a good job.
Yeah, that's a really important point. It shows that just getting a white-collar job doesn't mean you'll be happy. It's like there's something else going on. People are starting to question, what's really important, what they really want. And it's not just in China either. Like, we're seeing this all over the world. The gig economy, people wanting a better work-life balance, trying to find jobs that have meaning.
So is this the end of, like, the traditional career path? Are those 9-to-5 office jobs, like, going away?
It's hard to say for sure, but I do think that the old way of doing things, it's changing. It's being, like, disrupted. And that's, it's scary, but it's also a chance to do something new. It makes us think about what work really means, what a good career is, and how to, like, adapt to a job market that's always changing.
So if the old way doesn't work anymore, like, what's the new way? What advice would you give to, like, young people, not just in China, but, everywhere?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be adaptable. And to, like, keep learning your whole life. The job market, it's changing fast because of technology, globalization, and, how the population's changing. What's a good skill today might be useless tomorrow. So you got to be ready to learn new things, be flexible, and respond to change.
So basically, don't get too comfy, stay on your toes and learn new stuff. Sounds good, but, like, what does that actually look like?
It means investing in your skills, both the hard skills and the soft skills. Technical skills are important, especially in, like, tech, data, and marketing. But those transferable skills, those are just as important. Things like communication, critical thinking, problem solving, being able to work with others. These are the skills that'll help you, like, move between different jobs, different industries, even different careers, over your lifetime.
Right, because your degree isn't enough anymore. You got to keep learning new skills all the time.
Exactly. And it's not just about like going back to school. It's about being curious, trying new things, and always learning. It's about being okay with like being uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone and seeing challenges as like chances to learn and grow.
So it's not just about what you know, but how you learn, how you adapt, right?
Exactly. And this brings us back to those stories from the article. Like, remember Samzan working as a waiter, but he wants to open his own restaurant. He's not just taking orders. He's like really getting into the business, watching, learning, getting experience that'll help him later on.
And Wu Dan going from finance to like sports massage. She's not just giving massages, she's learning new stuff, following her passion, and maybe even starting her own business. They're both like being super adaptable and entrepreneurial, right?
Totally. They're not waiting for good things to happen. They're making them happen. And that's a powerful way to think no matter what you do.
You know, it's interesting, like their stories are so different from those grads going to Hang the Inn to be extras. It's like a much more uncertain path. But is there something similar about them? Like, are they all like resilient and resourceful?
I think so. They're all in their own way, kind of like challenging the system. They're doing things their own way and figuring out how to like make things work in a world that's changing all the time.
Yeah.
They're trying new things, taking risks, making new paths, even if those paths are like weird or unexpected.
Oh, it's like they're saying, we're not going to let the system tell us what success is. We're going to decide that for ourselves. And it's not always about like money or status. It's about finding meaning in what they do, even if it's like temporary or different.
Yeah, and that change in how they see things, that willingness to like question what success is, it's a big deal. It makes me think that maybe like our whole culture is changing, how we think about what's important, what a good life is.
That's a pretty hopeful thought, right? Like even with all this uncertainty and change, people are still resilient, they're creative, they're taking control of their lives.
It is hopeful. It reminds us that change, even though it can be scary, it can also make us grow, be more innovative, and create new possibilities.
Yeah.
But like the question is, how can we, like society and institutions, how can we help make this change happen? How can we make things that support people, help them do well in this new world?
Yeah, that's a good point. It seems like we're talking about like both sides needing to change. It's not just people adapting, but society too, right?
Right.
What about governments and schools and even companies? Like what can they do to help people, you know, with these new ways of working and living?
Yeah, you're right. It's got to be everyone working together. Governments, they need to think about like policies that help create jobs, you know, teach people new skills and make sure people have some support when the job market is so like up and down. And schools, they can't just teach the same old stuff. They got to teach people how to like think for themselves, solve problems, and be ready for anything. Mm-hmm. And companies, they got to change how they hire and train people. They got to see the value in like different skills, different career paths, and people who are always learning.
It sounds like a lot, you know, like a lot to change, but it also sounds kind of exciting, like a chance to make things better for everyone.
Exactly. It's about like realizing that work is changing and using those changes to build a better world, a world where people can adapt and, you know, be happy.
It's pretty inspiring, right, to think that something good can come out of all this. But what about our listeners? I mean, we've talked about a lot, you know, about grads in China and these big changes happening everywhere. What can our listeners actually like do with all this?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to a few things. First, like never stop learning. Your degree, it's just the beginning. The world's changing so fast. You got to keep learning new skills, exploring different things, and, you know, just keep learning your whole life.
So like keep your brain working. Don't get stuck doing the same thing forever. Got it. What else?
Second, be adaptable. Like be flexible, be open to new things, be willing to try stuff that scares you a little. Don't be afraid to like change your career, try something totally different.
So like be open to anything, take a chance, good advice, anything else.
Third, think like an entrepreneur. You don't have to start a business, although you can. Yeah. But it's more about like taking charge, seeing problems as opportunities, and, you know, making things better wherever you are.
So be a problem solver, be a go-getter. Okay, I got it. But we talked a lot about how work is changing. What about the skills themselves? Like what skills do you think will be important in the future?
That's a tough one. No one knows for sure what the future holds, but anything with technology is going to be huge. Like coding, data stuff, digital marketing, cybersecurity, even AI and machine learning. those fields are changing so fast, and they're changing everything else too. So if you know that stuff, you'll be in demand.
So, like, if you can talk to computers, you're good.
Pretty much.
Huh.
But it's not just about tech skills. Like we said before, those soft skills, those human skills, they're getting more and more important. Communication, working together, critical thinking, problem solving, being creative. Those are the things that'll make you stand out, especially as machines start doing more of the like routine stuff.
Yeah, because, like, computers can do math and analyze data, but they can't think like humans or understand how people feel or connect with them.
Exactly. And one more thing. Being able to think critically and learn new information fast. There's so much information out there. It's crazy. So being able to like know it's true, understand complicated stuff, and make good decisions based on like facts, those skills are super valuable.
So it's not just about learning things. It's about, like, learning how to learn, how to think for yourself, how to figure things out in a world that's always changing.
Exactly. And all of this, it kind of goes back to that big cultural shift we talked about. Moving away from the old ideas of success to something more like well-rounded, more adaptable, more human. It's about realizing that success isn't just about money or your job title. It's about finding meaning in what you do, doing something that matters, and living a life that, makes sense for you.
That's a great message. And I think it's a perfect way to wrap things up. We've talked about a lot today, the problems grads face in China, how work is changing everywhere. But really, it's a story about, like, resilience, being adaptable, and people making their own way in the world.
Well said. And to our listeners, I just say, don't be afraid of the unknown. Stay curious, keep learning, and keep exploring. The future is yours to make.